In June 2026, 3 million people will descend on 16 American, Canadian, and Mexican cities for the biggest sporting event in human history. Stadiums will sell out in minutes. Sponsors will pay billions for logo placement. Governments will spend decades paying off the infrastructure bill. And at the center of all of it, collecting a check for roughly $11 billion, will be an organization that pays zero corporate tax on every single dollar it earns. That organization is FIFA. And it is technically a non-profit. Let that sit for a second. The entity that runs the most commercially lucrative sporting event on the planet, an event that generated more revenue than the GDP of 70 countries, is classified the same way as your local food bank. Here's what's actually happening with that money, and why the people who should be furious about it are too busy buying replica jerseys to notice. The contradiction expansion. Now you might be thinking, okay, but FIFA pays out prize money. The players get paid. The host countries get tourism revenue. Surely it all flows back somehow. Sure, in the same way that a casino gives back to its customers. The 2026 World Cup prize pool for all 48 competing nations is $1 billion. Sounds generous, until you realize FIFA's total revenue from the same tournament is projected at $11 billion. That's a 9% payout rate. A slot machine in Las Vegas is legally required to pay out at least 75%. FIFA is running a worse deal than a Vegas casino, and somehow everyone is applauding. And here's where it gets genuinely absurd. The host nations, the ones building the infrastructure, the transit systems, the hotels, the security apparatus, receive no share of FIFA's broadcast rights. None. Zero. They absorb the costs. FIFA absorbs the revenue. The host country is essentially a venue hire that agreed to pay for its own renovation and then hand the building to someone else for a month. FIFA has constructed the only business model in the world where the supplier pays the distributor, and every government lines up to participate. The credibility bridge. This is not speculation. Between 2015 and 2017, the United States Department of Justice indicted 42 FIFA officials and associates on charges including wire fraud, racketeering, and money laundering, totaling over $200 million in corrupt payments. 9 FIFA officials and 5 corporate executives pleaded guilty. The organization paid no institutional penalty. It restructured, rebranded, and 3 years later awarded itself a 48-team expansion of the very tournament at the center of the corruption. The corruption wasn't a glitch, it was the operating system. And the 2026 World Cup is that operating system running its biggest update yet. The rule, then the exception. Here's how major sporting events are supposed to work economically. A governing body selects a host location. The host invests in infrastructure. Tourists arrive, spend money, and the economic activity, hotel stays, restaurants, transport, retail, generates a return that at minimum offsets the public investment. The governing body takes a licensing fee, and both parties benefit. That's the deal. That's why cities compete to host. The reason that rule exists is simple. Hosting costs are enormous. The 2022 Qatar World Cup cost an estimated $220 billion in infrastructure spending. Brazil 2014 cost $15 billion. South Africa 2010 cost $3.6 billion and left behind stadiums that cost more to maintain annually than the entire local football league generates in revenue. The infrastructure investment only makes sense if the economic return justifies it. Here's what breaks the rule. FIFA does not share broadcast revenue with host nations. FIFA does not pay corporate tax in host countries. It negotiates tax exemptions as a condition of hosting. FIFA does not contribute to stadium maintenance after the tournament ends, and FIFA retains full commercial rights to every piece of content generated inside those stadiums. Think of it like this. Imagine you own a restaurant. Someone approaches you and says, "We want to run a private dinner party at your venue." You pay to renovate the kitchen, hire the staff, cover all the utilities, and provide security. We'll sell the tickets, keep all the revenue from the meal, film the whole thing, sell the footage globally, and you get to keep the tips. You'd say no. Every government that has ever hosted a World Cup said yes. The exception that breaks the rule is that FIFA holds something worth more than money to any sitting government: the most watched event in human history, and the political legitimacy that comes with it. The descent. So where does the money actually go? Let's follow it down. Layer 1. Broadcast rights. The 2026 World Cup broadcast rights are projected to generate $5+ billion. This money flows directly to FIFA's Zurich headquarters, distributed to its 211 member associations according to an internal formula that, and this is important, has never been independently audited. Layer 2. Sponsorship. 30+ global partners, including Adidas, Coca-Cola, and Visa, will collectively pay billions for the right to associate their brands with the tournament. That money also flows to FIFA. The host nation cities get stadium naming restrictions. They are contractually prohibited from having competing sponsors visible anywhere near tournament venues, which means local businesses must either comply or be excluded from the economic zone FIFA creates around its own event. Layer 3. The ticketing structure. FIFA controls all ticket allocation and pricing. The 2026 host cities, New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami, will see hotels charge 400 to 800% above normal rates during match weeks. That revenue goes to the private hospitality sector, not to public coffers. The residents of those cities absorb the congestion, the infrastructure pressure, and the price spikes. They receive no direct financial benefit. Layer 4, and this is the one nobody talks about, is the development grants. FIFA distributes a portion of revenue back to its 211 member associations as development funding. These grants are dispersed with minimal oversight requirements. The DOJ indictments revealed that a significant portion of these development funds were the exact mechanism used to pay bribes. FIFA was using its own revenue redistribution system as a corruption pipeline and calling it charity. Here's the central irony that makes this whole thing a story rather than just a statistic. FIFA is a non-profit organization that exists to develop football globally, funded by the most commercially exploitative event in global sports, governed by officials who have repeatedly been convicted of stealing from it. It is a charity that commits crimes in the name of giving. The systemic conclusion. Go back to that image from the hook. 3 million people in 16 cities. The flags, the noise, the genuine joy of the thing. None of that is fake. The World Cup is legitimately the most unifying event human beings have figured out how to produce. And that is precisely what makes the financial architecture around it so effective. You cannot regulate something that people love this much. You cannot reform an institution that controls access to something governments will pay any price to host. FIFA does not survive despite the passion people feel for football. FIFA survives because of it. The emotional product is real. The financial extraction is also real. Both things are true simultaneously, and the second one depends entirely on the first one continuing. The verdict? The World Cup is not a sporting event that happens to generate money. It is a revenue extraction mechanism that happens to feature football. The game is the loss leader. The infrastructure debt, the tax exemptions, the unaudited grants, the displaced local businesses, that is the actual product. And in 2026, 3 countries just agreed to deliver it at scale.